This video analyzes and explains the guitar and bass parts that are present during the main rhythm of the song. The main rhythm will be played during the intro, chorus lines, and beneath the guitar solo. The tuning used in this video and on the record is standard E and 440 wavelength calibration. The main rhythm is going to be 8 full measures long. We're going to start out by playing an E major chord. This E major chord is going to be a little different than the standard E major chord that a chord book would show you. What we're going to do is take the first finger and place it on the root note of E, which is on the A string at the 7th fret. Then we're going to take the third finger and bar the D, G, and B strings at the 9th fret. We're playing 4 strings in this chord. It should sound like this. We're going to start out the first measure by playing 2 quarter notes on that chord, both picked down on the counts 1, 2, just like this. 1, 2. Okay, on 3, we're going to pick the open E string downwards, and as we're picking that open string, we're going to take advantage of that to position our hand for the next chord. We're going to shift it down a full step in pitch to the 5th fret. This is a D major. Okay, and this is how it should be played. Okay, notice the picking motion. Down, 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 up. Count 1, 2, 3, and. I'm playing this a lot slower than record speed so you can follow it easier. Okay, with the 4 count, this is what we have so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and. To finish up that first measure, we're going to pick the open A string with an upward picking motion on the last 8th note of the first measure. So this is what we're going to have with the 4 count lead in for your first measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and. Notice once again that once I'm picking that open A string, I'm shifting my hand position to get ready for the next chord. We're going to go to an open A5 power chord to start the second measure. What we're going to do is we're going to take that first finger and bar the D and G strings at the 2nd fret. What we're going to do here once we get to this chord is we're going to play it with 2 quarter notes picked down on 1 and 2, just like we started the last measure. Just like this. 1, 2. On 3, we're going to pick the open A string down. This is going to ring out as an 8th. And then we're going to go to the B5 power chord. We're going to pick this up on the and beat directly after 3. So this is what the second measure is going to sound like so far. I'll give you a 4 count lead in. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and. Okay. And to finish up that second measure, we're going to go back to the low open E string and pick that upwards. So with the 4 count lead in, here's what the first 2 measures are going to sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and. Now that you know the first 2 measures, the third measure is going to be easy because it's an exact repeat of the first measure. So what I'm going to do now is I'll give you a 4 count and we'll just play the first 3 measures. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and 1. Okay, now there's where we start the 4th measure. Notice that we went back to the A5 power chord. What I'm going to do there is I'm not going to pick it twice as quarter notes. I'm just going to pick it 1 time and let it ring out as a half note. On 3, we're going to pick the open A string down, and on the upbeat directly after 3, we're going to pick the B5 power chord upwards. And to finish up that 4th measure, we're going to pick the open E string with an upward picking motion on the last and beat of the fourth measure. With the 4-count lead in, I'm just going to do the fourth measure slowly, just so you can see how it fits. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and. And notice that once I hit that open string, I'm shifting back into position to start the fifth measure. With the 4-count lead in, let's do the first 4 measures in sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and. Now that we are halfway through the main rhythm, it's going to get a little easier. The fifth measure is going to be an exact repeat of what was done on the first and third measures. So logically, this is what we're going to have. 1, 2, 3, and 1. Okay, notice we went back to the A5 power chord where we're going to start the 6th measure. We picked it downwards on 1, and we're going to let it ring out as a quarter note, just like we did on the 2nd measure. We're also going to pick it down again on 2, just like the 2nd measure. On 3, we're going to pick the open A string downwards, and on the and beat directly after 3, we're going to pick the B5 power chord upwards. So far, this is just like the 2nd measure, except we're going to sustain that B5, and we're going to pick it again upwards on the last upbeat of the 6th measure to finish it up. So with a 4-count lead in, I'm just going to play the 5th and 6th measures just so you can see how they plug together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and. From this point, we're going to play the 7th and 8th measures using that same B5 power chord. What we're going to do is let it sustain out into the 7th measure. We'll pick it downwards on 2, let it ring out, and on the and beat directly after 3, we're going to pick it up. We're going to pick it upwards again on the and beat after 4. Then it's going to sustain out into the 8th measure. We're going to pick it down on 2, just like the previous measure. And we'll pick it one more time upwards on the and beat after 3. Instead of talking about this, it's going to be easier if I just play it and you watch how I'm picking it and listen closely to the count to see where I'm accenting. With the 4-count lead in, here's measures 5 through 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and 2, and 2, and. Now that you know all 8 measures, let's play through it one time at record speed. I'm not going to count it out as I play it. I'll just give you the 4-count lead in. 1, 2, 3, 4. The bass guitar is going to start out by playing a 2-measure long pattern. We're going to use straight 8th notes counted 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and alternate picking. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. We're picking down on the down beats and up on the and beats. The first 5 notes are going to be 8th notes picked on the open E string just like this. 1 and 2 and 3. On the and beat directly after 3, the middle finger will go on the 3rd fret of the E string. We're going to play 2 8th notes picked up and down. Okay, the down is on 4. We'll finish up that first measure by placing the 3rd finger on the 4th fret of that same string. That's an upward picking motion. With a 4-count lead in, here's what that first measure will sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. From this point we start the 2nd measure. We're going to go to the open A string. We're going to play 5 more eighth notes, just like this. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, on the N beat right after 3, we're going to put the first finger on the second fret and play 2 more eighth notes, pick up and down. That's and 4. And we're going to finish up that second measure by going back to the low open E string with an upward picking motion. With the 4 count lead in, here's what the first 2 measures are going to sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, that's actually going to repeat itself a second time for the 3rd and 4th measures. With the 4 count lead in, let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The 5th measure is going to be an exact repeat of the 1st measure. The 6th measure will be a repeat of the 2nd measure, all except for the last note. Instead of picking the low open E string on the last 8th note of that measure, we're going to stay on the B note located on the A string at the 2nd fret. We're going to finish that with an upward picking motion and let that ring out into the 7th measure. With the 4 count lead in, here's what the 5th and 6th measures sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now we start the 7th measure. We're going to resume picking this B note with another upstroke on the and beat right after 1. Okay, that's 2 upward picking motions in a row. We're going to continue the alternate picking right up until the last 8th note of the 7th measure, the beat right after 4. We're going to do the same thing. After we pick it up, we're going to let it pause and ring out into the 8th measure. With the 4 count lead in, here's what measures 5 through 7 sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now we're in the 8th measure. Once again, we're going to continue driving that B note. We'll start with a second upward picking motion, which comes in after 1 on the and beat, just like the previous measure. We'll resume alternate picking right up until the last 8th note of this measure. We'll end it on the low open E string. With the 4 count lead in, here's measures 5 through 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now with the 4 count lead in, let's run through all 8 measures right from the start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and